You will marry him, Amaka. I have spoken. That was the first thing Titus said as he dropped his plate on the table. No good morning. No asking if she had eaten. Just those sharp, final words. Amaka froze with the cup of water still in her hand. She had been on her feet since before sunrise, cooking yam porridge for the family. She hadn't even had a taste yet. What did you say? She asked slowly. Titus leaned back in his wooden chair and crossed his arms. You heard me. A good man has asked for your hand. His name is Chief Kalu. Her mother, sitting at the other end of the table, kept her eyes fixed on the ground, her fingers twisting the edge of her wrapper. Amaka laughed once, not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. Me? Marry Chief Kalu? That old crippled man people whisper about in the market. Titus's eyes narrowed. Mind your tongue. That man is respected. Respected. Amaka's voice rose. They say he can't even walk. They say many things. Titus cut in sharply. What matters is that he can take care of you, and he has offered a bride price that will help this family. Amaka stared at him in disbelief. Help the family? Or help you? The slap came so fast she didn't see his hand move. The cup slipped from her fingers and rolled across the floor, spilling water everywhere. Her mother flinched but didn't speak. Titus leaned forward, his voice low but heavy. You will not disrespect me in my own house. I feed you, I clothe you, and when I say you will marry, you will marry. Amaka's chest rose and fell quickly. She wanted to shout back, to throw the yam porridge in his face, but she knew better. Titus was not the kind of man you challenged without paying for it later. Still, she couldn't stop herself from saying, You're selling me. Titus smiled, a cold, slow smile. Call it whatever you like. But in this life, a woman must marry. You are not getting any younger. At 19, you should be thanking me for finding a man willing to take you. She looked at her mother again, hoping for some sign of support, but her mother only said softly, Amaka, maybe it is for the best. For the best. Amaka's voice shook. Mama, do you want me to spend my life pushing a crippled old man in a wheelchair? Is that the future you want for me? Her mother's eyes glistened. Sometimes we don't get to choose. Amaka turned and walked out before she said something she would regret. She went into the small backyard and stood there, staring at the line of laundry swaying in the breeze. The morning sun was already harsh, and her head pounded. She heard Titus's voice inside, low and triumphant. He was already talking about the marriage as if it was settled. The rest of that morning passed like a blur. Amaka tried to focus on washing the plates, sweeping the compound, fetching water from the stream, but her mind kept returning to the same question. Why Chief Kalu? She had never spoken to the man, only seen him once from a distance during a burial in the village. He had been in a wheelchair, dressed in a faded black suit, looking pale and tired. People had whispered about him, some saying he was cursed, others claiming he had once been powerful but had lost everything. And now Titus wanted her to marry him. Later in the day, as Amaka was pounding fufu in the kitchen, her younger half-brother, Chaik, wandered in. He was only 12 and had the careless boldness of a child who didn't yet understand certain things. I heard Papa Titus talking to Mama, Chaik said, picking at the wall. He said when you marry that man, we will have money to fix the roof. Amaka kept pounding, her jaw tight. It's none of your business, Chaik. He grinned. If he's rich, will you buy me new sandals? She stopped pounding and turned to him. Get out. Chaik laughed and ran off. Her mother came in moments later, looking tired. Amaka, don't fight this. It will only make things harder. Mama, you know this is wrong. You know he's only doing this for money. Her mother's voice cracked. I know, but what can I do? If I refuse, Titus will make our lives miserable. He will stop paying your school fees for your siblings. He might even send you away. Amaka set down the pestle. So you're telling me to sacrifice my life so Titus can fill his pockets? Her mother's eyes fell. I'm telling you to survive. That night, Titus came home later than usual. He smelled of palm wine and satisfaction. Amaka was sitting on the mat in the corner, pretending to read. "Amaka," he called. "Come here." She stood reluctantly. He looked her up and down. "I met with Chief Kalu's man today. The bride price will be paid in 2 weeks. The marriage will be quick. No need for all that city girl nonsense. You will move into his house immediately after." Amaka felt her knees weaken. 2 weeks? You're not even giving me time to think. What is there to think about? This is your future. And let me warn you, if you try to disgrace me by refusing, I will throw you out of this house. Her mother's voice came from the kitchen. "Titus, please, let's not rush." "Silence," he barked. "You women don't know what is good for you. This is a blessing." Amaka clenched her fists. "A blessing for who?" "For you." His eyes darkened. "Go to your room before I forget you are a woman and beat you like a man." She went, her heart pounding so loudly it drowned out the rest of his words. In bed, she stared at the cracked ceiling and thought of all the ways she might escape. She could run to her aunt in Onitsha. She could hide with a friend in the next town. But she knew Titus would come after her, not because he cared about her, but because he cared about the bride price. 2 weeks. That was all the time she had. The next morning, Titus was gone early. Her mother avoided her eyes. Amaka went to the stream to fetch water, hoping the walk would clear her head. But even there, she heard the whispers. 2 women were talking nearby, their voices just loud enough to reach her. "Have you heard? That girl Amaka will marry Chief Kalu. Yeah. She is beautiful, but her fate is bitter. That man is half dead. Half dead but with money. Her stepfather is wise." Amaka's grip tightened on the handle of her bucket. She wanted to shout at them, to tell them they knew nothing, but she kept walking. When she got home, Titus was sitting in the compound with a stranger. A tall man in a crisp shirt, holding a leather folder. "Amaka," Titus called. "Come and greet our visitor." She approached slowly. "This is Mr. Okoro," Titus said. "He is Chief Kalu's personal aide. He has come to finalize the arrangements." Mr. Okoro smiled politely. "Good afternoon, Madam Amaka." She didn't return the smile. "I'm not your madam." Titus's jaw tightened. "Go inside." But Mr. Okoro waved a hand. "It's fine. She is just shy." He opened his folder and pulled out some papers. "The marriage will be in 14 days. The bride price will be paid in full before the ceremony. Chief Kalu has also requested that she move into his compound the same day." Amaka couldn't stay quiet. "And what if I say no?" Titus turned on her, his voice low but dangerous. "Then you will leave this house today with nothing, not even your clothes." Mr. Okoro looked between them, clearly uncomfortable, but said nothing. By the time the man left, the sun was low and the compound was quiet. Titus sat there counting the advance payment Mr. Okoro had left, crisp notes that seemed to light up his greedy eyes. Amaka stood in the doorway watching him. "You're happy now, aren't you?" she said. He didn't even look up. "I'm happy that finally you will be useful." She stepped forward. "One day, you will regret this." He laughed. "Regret? My only regret is that I didn't find a rich husband for you sooner." That night, Amaka couldn't sleep. The reality was sinking in. In 2 weeks, she would be the wife of a man she didn't know, a man she didn't love, a man she had only seen from a distance, a man in a wheelchair. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "I will find a way out." But deep down, she wasn't sure she believed it. "You will not embarrass me in front of him, Amaka. I am warning you." Those were the first words Titus spoke to her that morning. He hadn't even sat down yet. He was standing in the middle of the compound with his hands on his hips, staring at her like a soldier ready for battle. Amaka had just come from the kitchen, her hands still smelling faintly of onions. "Embarrass you in front of who?" she asked. "In front of Chief Kalu's people," he said. "They are coming today to see you, to make everything official." Her heart skipped. She had been clinging to the hope that this whole marriage talk was just another one of Titus's big empty threats. But now the tone in his voice told her otherwise. "I'm not meeting anybody," she said firmly. Titus's eyes darkened. You will meet them, and you will smile, and you will show respect. Do you think a man like Chief Kalu begs women to marry him? This is an honor for you. Amaka's voice trembled, but she forced the words out. It is not an honor to be sold like a goat. His palm twitched, and she instinctively took a step back. Her mother rushed out from the side of the compound, carrying a small basin of water. Please, let us not start this morning like this, she said quietly. But Titus ignored her. He took 2 steps toward Amaka. Listen to me very well, girl. You will marry Chief Kalu. If you refuse, you will leave this house today with nothing. You will not see your mother again. And you will never step foot in this compound. Amaka clenched her jaw. You think you own me. But one day, you will regret what you are doing. Titus gave a short laugh. Regret? My only regret will be if you mess this up and lose us the money. He walked away toward the gate, leaving her standing there with her mother. Her mother put down the basin and sighed. Amaka, please. This is not the time to fight him. Amaka turned sharply. Mama, whose side are you on? Mine or his? Her mother's lips trembled. I am on the side of peace. You know how Titus can be when he is angry. The rest of the morning dragged. Amaka swept the compound twice, though there was nothing left to sweep. She cleaned the benches, fetched water, and tried to keep herself busy, but every sound from the road made her stomach twist. Finally, just after noon, a dusty Toyota Camry pulled up outside the compound. Titus came out from his room immediately, adjusting his shirt. Amaka, go and bring cold water. And don't stand there looking like a funeral guest. A tall man in a gray suit stepped out of the car. He carried a leather folder and wore a polite smile. This is Mr. Okoro, Titus said proudly. Chief Kalu's personal aide. Mr. Okoro stepped forward and extended his hand to Amaka. Good afternoon, madam. She didn't take the hand. My name is Amaka, she said plainly. Titus's eyes flashed. Shake his hand. She reluctantly did, her palm stiff. Mr. Okoro's smile wavered for a moment, but he quickly recovered. I am here to finalize some things. Chief Kalu sends his greetings. Titus beamed as though he had just been crowned king. Please sit down. Amaka, bring the water. When she returned with a tray and placed the glasses in front of them, she could hear every word. As I said on the phone, Mr. Okoro began, opening his folder. The marriage will be in 2 weeks' time. Chief Kalu has agreed to pay the full bride price up front. The ceremony will be traditional. No need for anything too elaborate. Titus nodded eagerly. That is fine. We are simple people. What matters is that the families are joined. Mr. Okoro continued. Chief Kalu also requests that Amaka move into his compound the same day as the wedding. Amaka couldn't help herself. And if I say no? There was a pause. Mr. Okoro looked up slowly, his expression unreadable. Titus turned to her, his voice low and dangerous. Go inside. I asked a question, she said, her voice rising. If I don't want to marry this man, what happens? Titus's palm slammed onto the table, making the glasses rattle. I said go inside. Her mother appeared at the doorway, looking terrified. Amaka, please. Amaka stared at Titus for a long moment before turning on her heel and walking into the house. She didn't go to her room, though. She stayed just inside the doorway, listening. Mr. Okoro cleared his throat. I can see she is young, but Chief Kalu is patient. He believes she will come to understand his intentions. Titus laughed softly. She will understand when she is under my roof no longer. The conversation shifted to money. She heard the sound of paper being counted. Titus's voice grew warmer and more relaxed with every note passed into his hands. Later that day, after Mr. Okoro had left, Titus called Amaka into the sitting room. Sit, he said. She remained standing. What is it? You will start preparing for the marriage tomorrow. Your mother will take you to the tailor for your clothes. I don't want any delays. Amaka folded her arms. You can plan all you want, but you cannot make me smile at that wedding. Everyone will know you forced me. Titus leaned forward. Smile or not, you will still be his wife. And once you are gone, your opinion will not matter here anymore. Her mother stood in the corner, silent. Amaka looked at her. You're really not going to stop this? Her mother's voice was barely above a whisper. I cannot fight him, Amaka. Titus stood up and pointed toward the door. Go and start making yourself useful. There will be visitors tomorrow. I want you to look like a proper bride. The next morning, the compound was busy. Neighbors stopped by to greet Titus and pretend to admire the good news. Though Amaka could see the way some of them looked at her, pity mixed with gossip. One old woman pulled her aside and whispered, My dear, a crippled man still has needs. Be careful. Amaka's cheeks burned. Thank you, Mama. But I don't need your advice. In the afternoon, Titus sent her and her mother to the market to buy fabric for the wedding dress. I will not wear white, Amaka said as they walked. Her mother sighed. Then what will you wear? Sackcloth? I don't care. This is not a wedding. It is a transaction. Her mother stopped walking. Amaka, stop talking like this. People will hear. Let them hear, Amaka said bitterly. Let the whole world know that my stepfather sold me. Her mother didn't reply. They bought the fabric in silence. That evening, Amaka sat outside peeling cassava when she heard Titus's voice from the front gate. He was speaking in low tones to someone she couldn't see. She crept closer and peered around the corner. It was Mr. Okoro again. Titus was smiling broadly as the man handed him a small envelope. Everything is in place, Mr. Okoro said quietly. Chief Kalu is looking forward to meeting her properly. The bride price will be delivered in full on the morning of the wedding. Titus nodded, his eyes shining. Good. Very good. Tell him she will be ready. Amaka stepped back before they could see her. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear this time, from anger. She knew now, beyond any doubt, that this had nothing to do with her happiness. It was all about the money. The first thing Amaka saw that morning was the white gown lying on the wooden chair beside her bed. It wasn't new. She knew it the moment she touched it. The fabric was soft from too many washes, and there was a faint perfume smell that wasn't hers. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at it like it was a snake. From outside, she could already hear voices. Women from the village were singing, preparing for the ceremony. Her mother's voice floated in from the passage, telling someone to fetch more chairs. Amaka! Titus's voice boomed from the compound. Come out here. We don't have all day. She didn't move. Her mother entered the room, holding a small plate of fried plantain. Eat something before you dress, she said quietly. I'm not hungry, Amaka replied. You will need your strength. Today will be long. Amaka looked at her. Do you realize you are sending me to live with a man I do not know? A man old enough to be my father. Her mother's eyes darted toward the doorway, as if afraid Titus might hear. Please, my daughter, do not start. Just get through today. We will talk later. Later? When I am already trapped. Amaka's voice cracked. Mama, this is not marriage. This is shame. Her mother set the plate down on the table, her shoulders sagging. It is the way things are. She left before Amaka could reply. An hour later, she was sitting in front of a small mirror as a neighbor's daughter plaited her hair. The girl kept glancing at her reflection, clearly wanting to say something but holding back. Finally, she whispered, You look beautiful. Amaka didn't answer. The singing outside grew louder. People were arriving, their chatter mixing with the sound of chairs being dragged into place. Titus appeared at the door, wearing a wide smile. Ah, my beautiful bride. Remember to smile today. People will be watching. Amaka met his eyes in the mirror. I will not smile. His smile thinned. Do not test me, Amaka. This is the day we have all been waiting for. You mean the day you have been waiting for? She said quietly. He took a step inside, lowering his voice. If you cause any trouble today, I swear you will regret it. Do you understand me? She turned back to the mirror without answering. By midday, the compound was full. The smell of jollof rice and fried meat hung in the air. Women in bright wrappers moved around carrying trays. Men sat in small groups drinking palm wine. Amaka stayed inside, listening to the noise. Her heart thudded in her chest. When the drums began, her mother came in. "It's time." Amaka rose slowly. The white gown was loose around her waist and a little too short. She had to keep pulling it down as they walked toward the front of the compound. The murmurs started immediately. "Is that her? She's beautiful. Ihia. Such a young girl for that man. Better to marry money than marry a fine face." She kept her head down. Chief Kalu arrived in a dusty Mercedes, the kind that looked like it had seen better years. The car door opened and a younger man stepped out first, then unfolded a wheelchair. When Chief Kalu emerged, he looked exactly as she remembered from the burial. Pale, tired, wearing a black suit that seemed too heavy for the heat. He sat in the wheelchair, hands resting on his lap, eyes scanning the crowd briefly before settling on her. There was no smile, no warmth, just a long, unreadable look. The ceremony began. Elders spoke, cola nuts were broken, drinks were poured. Amaka answered questions in a voice barely above a whisper. Titus beamed at every word. When it came time for the bride price, Titus stood proudly as a large brown envelope was handed to him. The crowd clapped and cheered, some women ululating. Amaka felt like she was watching from far away. None of it seemed real. After the ceremony, she was told to sit beside Chief Kalu. The young man who had helped him from the car, clearly his aide, leaned in and said, "We will leave soon, madam." "Don't call me that," she replied without looking at him. He didn't respond. Titus came over, clutching the envelope like it was a newborn baby. "Ah, my daughter, you are now a wife. Remember to honor your husband." She looked at him for a long moment, then said, "I hope this money keeps you warm at night." His smile froze, but he didn't reply. He simply walked away toward the group of men offering him drinks. As the sun dipped lower, the guests began to leave. Her mother hugged her briefly, whispering, "Be patient." Amaka didn't answer. She was told to get into the back seat of the Mercedes. Chief Kalu was helped into the front passenger side. His wheelchair folded into the boot. The car pulled away from the compound, the sound of the drums fading behind them. She stared out the window at the dusty road, her thoughts a mess of anger, fear, and exhaustion. They drove in silence for almost an hour. The aide occasionally glanced at her in the rearview mirror but didn't speak. Finally, they turned onto a narrow road lined with tall weeds. At the end was a large gate, paint peeling, one hinge sagging. The gate creaked open, revealing an old compound. The walls were cracked, the paint faded. It looked like no one had lived there in years. The car rolled to a stop in front of the house. As they climbed out, Amaka noticed movement in the shadows near the gate. A sleek black SUV was parked just outside. Its engine was running. She squinted, trying to see the driver, but the tinted window stayed up. A moment later, the SUV pulled away slowly, disappearing down the road. She turned to ask about it, but the aide was already unfolding the wheelchair, and Chief Kalu was looking straight ahead, his expression unreadable. Something about that car made her uneasy. She had a feeling it would not be the last time she saw it. The first thing Amaka noticed when she stepped into the compound was the silence. No children playing. No neighbors' radios blaring. No sound of cooking from the kitchen. Just silence. The aide, she still didn't know his name, pushed Chief Kalu's wheelchair toward the front steps. She followed slowly, looking around. The yard was swept clean, but the house itself looked old. The walls had cracks running from the roof to the ground. Some of the windows had rusty mosquito nets. Inside it was dim. The curtains were drawn, letting in only slivers of the late afternoon sun. The air smelled faintly of polish and something else. Something expensive, though she couldn't place it. "Madam," the aide said, turning to her, "would you like to see your room?" She frowned at the word. "It's Amaka. My name is Amaka." He nodded politely. "Yes, Amaka. Please, this way." They walked down a narrow hallway. The floor tiles were faded but spotless. At the end, he opened a door to a small room. There was a bed, a wardrobe, and a small table with a lamp. The bedsheet was plain white, neatly spread. "This is for you," he said. She stepped inside and ran her hand over the bed. "Who cleaned this?" "I did," he replied simply. "You live here too?" "I work here," he said, avoiding her eyes. She looked around again. "Where is everyone else? A house this big? I expected people." "There are no people," he said. "Just me and Chief." Her eyes snapped back to him. "No family? No friends? No visitors?" He hesitated. "Visitors come sometimes." She wanted to ask more, but at that moment, she heard the sound of the wheelchair rolling down the hallway. Chief Kalu appeared at the door, his pale face unreadable. "Is everything okay?" he asked. She met his gaze for a brief moment. "Yes." He nodded and wheeled away without another word. That night, she lay awake on the bed, listening. The house was so quiet that every creak of the wood sounded loud. At some point, she heard footsteps in the hallway. Not the slow, steady sound of the wheelchair, but quick, light steps. She sat up and held her breath. The sound stopped outside her door. She waited. Nothing. Then it moved on. She didn't sleep after that. The next morning, she found the dining table already set. A steaming kettle sat in the middle beside a plate of bread and a jar of jam. Chief Kalu was there reading a newspaper. She sat down slowly. "You're awake early," he said without looking up. "I'm used to waking up early," she replied. He turned a page. "You don't talk much." "You don't either." His eyes lifted to hers, and for a moment, they just stared at each other. Then he gave a small, dry smile. "Fair enough." The aide brought in scrambled eggs on a plate. "Eat before it gets cold," he said. Amaka took a small bite. The eggs were soft and buttery, unlike the ones she made at home. "Where do you buy food from?" she asked. The aide glanced at Chief Kalu, then said, "We have supplies delivered." "By who?" "A company," he said vaguely. Something about the way he said it made her sure he was hiding details. Later that day, she explored the house when no one was watching. Most of the rooms were locked. The few that were open were almost bare. A chair here, a table there, but no signs of regular use. At the end of another hallway, she found a door that was slightly open. She pushed it wider and stepped inside. It was an office, a big desk, leather chair, shelves of books. But what caught her eye was a row of small, locked drawers on one side of the desk. She walked closer and tried one. It didn't budge. Behind her, a voice said, "You shouldn't be here." She spun around. It was the aide. "I was just looking," she said. He shook his head. "Some doors are not meant to be opened." Before she could reply, he closed the door and locked it. That evening, a knock came at the gate. From the sitting room, she watched the aide step outside. A man in a suit stood there, holding a brown envelope. They spoke in low tones. When the aide came back in, he went straight to the locked office. She heard the click of the lock, then silence. Something in her told her this was not normal. 2 nights later, she was in the kitchen when she heard a car pull up outside. She peeked through the curtain and saw a black Lexus parked at the gate. Not the SUV from before, but still expensive. 2 men got out, both in dark clothes. The aide met them at the gate. After a brief exchange, one of the men handed him a small box. When they left, the aide locked the gate behind them. The next day, she decided to ask directly. "What was in that box last night?" she asked the aide when they were alone. He didn't answer immediately. "You're asking too many questions, Amaka. Because no one is telling me anything. I don't even know what kind of life I'm living here." "You are living a safe life," he said, his tone firmer now. "Don't ruin it by looking where you shouldn't." That night, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something big happening in this house. Something no one wanted her to know. She got up to get water and passed by the sitting room. Chief Kalu was there, alone, speaking on the phone. She froze when she heard his words. "No, I've already moved the money. They can't touch it now," he was saying. His voice was low, but the urgency was clear. "We just need to protect the assets until they come for me." He paused, listening. "Yes, I know it's only a matter of time. But I'm ready." Amaka stood there, her heart pounding. Assets? Until they come for me? She stepped back quietly before he could see her. The silence in the house suddenly felt heavier than ever. The first thing Amaka saw was the shadow moving past her bedroom window. It was late. She had been lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, still thinking about what she overheard Kalu saying on the phone. Protect the assets before they come for me. Those words had been running in her head like a song she couldn't get rid of. At first, she thought the shadow was just the aide making his rounds. But then she noticed something. It was too fast. The aide always walked slowly and carefully. This shadow moved quickly, like someone who didn't want to be seen. She sat up and listened. Footsteps, soft but rushed. Her heart started pounding. She got up quietly and stepped to the window, pulling the curtain just enough to peek outside. A man was in the compound. He wore dark clothes and a black mask that covered half his face. He was moving toward the side door of the house. Amaka's breath caught in her throat. She stepped back from the window, unsure if she should scream, hide, or run to warn someone. Before she could decide, she heard the faint click of a door opening downstairs. She moved quietly to the hallway, her bare feet silent on the floor. She could hear muffled sounds now, a door closing, then slow footsteps on the tiles. She took one step toward the stairs when a voice, low and sharp, said, "Don't move." She froze. The masked man was there, standing just a few feet away, pointing a gun at her. "Who else is in the house?" he demanded. Her mouth went dry. "Just me and my husband." "Where?" "In his room." He took a step closer. "Take me to him." Her legs felt like they were made of wood, but she turned and began walking toward Kalu's room. When they reached the door, the man gestured with the gun. "Open it." She knocked first. "Chief, it's me." The door opened slightly, and Kalu's pale face appeared. "What is it?" Before she could answer, the man shoved her aside and pushed the door open wider. Kalu's eyes widened when he saw the gun. "Where are the documents?" the man demanded. "What documents?" Kalu asked calmly. "Don't play with me, old man," the intruder said. "The documents and the money. Now." Amaka's back was pressed against the wall. She was shaking, but her eyes stayed on Kalu. His face wasn't afraid, it was calculating. The man took a step closer to Kalu's wheelchair. "I will shoot you if you don't tell me." And then it happened. So fast that Amaka almost missed it. Kalu stood up. Not struggled up. Stood up, straight and steady, like a man who had never needed a wheelchair in his life. Before the intruder could react, Kalu grabbed his wrist and twisted it. The gun clattered to the floor. Amaka gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. The two men struggled, knocking over a chair. The intruder tried to punch Kalu, but Kalu blocked it and shoved him against the wall. "You made a mistake coming here," Kalu said through clenched teeth. The man kicked out, sending Kalu back a step, but it wasn't enough. Kalu picked up the gun. "Wait," the intruder started, but the words barely left his mouth before the gun went off. The sound was deafening in the small room. The man slumped to the floor. Amaka stood frozen, her eyes wide, her breath coming in short bursts. Kalu looked at the gun for a moment, then placed it on the table. He turned to her. "You're hurt." She shook her head, but her voice trembled. "You can walk." He didn't answer. "You can walk," she repeated, louder this time. He took a step toward her. "This is not the time. You've been lying to me," she said, her voice breaking. "All this time." He glanced at the body on the floor, then back at her. "We'll talk. But first, I need to handle this." She backed away from him, her eyes never leaving his legs. The image of him standing strong, fast, dangerous was burned into her mind. And now, the man she thought was a cripple wasn't just a liar. He was a killer. The body was still on the floor. Amaka couldn't take her eyes off it. The man's face was partly covered by the mask, but his eyes were open, staring blankly at the ceiling. A dark pool was spreading across the tiles under his head. She took a step back. "What are you going to do with him?" Kalu's voice was calm, almost too calm. "I'll take care of it." "Take care of it?" she repeated, her voice rising. You just killed someone in front of me. He turned toward her slowly. If I didn't, you would be the one on the floor right now. Her chest was tight. You're not crippled. You've been lying to me since the day we met. Kalu looked away for a moment, then back at her. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is, she said sharply. Because right now I think I married a stranger. No, worse. I think I married a man who pretended to be helpless just to trick me. His jaw tightened. You think I enjoy pretending I can't walk? You've been sitting in that chair every day since I came here. Every day. You've made me believe you needed me. And now I find out it was all an act. It was not an act, he said firmly. It was protection. She gave a short, bitter laugh. Protection? From what? Sympathy? Kalu took a step closer to her, his voice low but steady. Sit down, Amaka. I'm going to tell you the truth. She didn't move. Please, he said softer now. Just sit. Reluctantly, she sat on the edge of the bed. Kalu pulled a chair closer and sat facing her. For a moment, he just looked at his hands, as if arranging the words in his head. My name is not just Chief Kalu, he began. It's Obinna Kalu. I used to be the CEO of one of the biggest construction companies in this country. Amaka frowned. Construction. Yes, we built roads, bridges, estates. I was wealthy, powerful. People bowed when I entered a room. But power attracts enemies. She didn't interrupt, but her eyes stayed fixed on him. 5 years ago, he continued, I was nearly killed. They shot at my car. I survived, but my driver didn't. The people who ordered it wanted me gone so they could take my company. Her eyes widened. Who are they? I can't give you names now, he said. But they were people I trusted. People in high places. I knew that if I stayed visible, they would try again. So I disappeared. Let the world think I was finished. Let them believe I was a crippled old man living quietly in the village. Amaka shook her head slowly. And that's supposed to make sense? You faked being crippled. It kept them away, he said. No one targets a man they think is already broken. And me? She asked quietly. Why marry me? Why drag me into this? Kalu leaned back slightly. Because I was tired of everyone around me wanting something from me. I wanted a companion who didn't know about my wealth, who would treat me like a man, not a bank account. Amaka stared at him, disbelief still clouding her face. So you thought, let me marry a girl who has no choice, whose stepfather will sell her off, and see if she loves me for me? His voice was low. I didn't know about Titus at first. I only saw you that day at the village council meeting. You looked different from the others. I asked about you. When Titus came to me later with his proposal, I saw it as fate. Her chest tightened again. Fate? This is not fate. This is a trap. Kalu's eyes softened. I never meant to hurt you. You already have, she said. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then she asked, and what about tonight? Who was that man? Kalu's face hardened. One of the people after me. They must have found out I'm still alive, and that I'm not as crippled as they thought. Amaka shivered. So I'm in danger now? You've been in danger since you married me, he said quietly. Her breath caught. And you didn't think to tell me? He looked her in the eye. If I told you, you would have run. And I couldn't let you go. The aide appeared at the door. Chief, we need to move him. Kalu stood and nodded. Take care of it. Amaka watched in silence as the aide and Kalu carried the body out through the back. She stayed seated, her mind spinning. Everything she thought she knew about her husband had shattered in the last hour. The next morning, she didn't go to breakfast. She stayed in her room, staring out the window. There was a knock. What? She said flatly. Kalu opened the door. You need to eat. I'm not hungry. He stepped inside. I know you're angry. I know you feel betrayed. But everything I did was to survive. She turned to face him. And what about me surviving? Did you think about that? Or did you just assume I'd be fine living in a house where masked men break in with guns? His shoulders sagged. I will protect you. I don't even know if I want your protection, she said. I don't know if I want you. Kalu flinched slightly but didn't answer. Meanwhile, in the village, Titus was sitting at a beer parlor when a police officer friend of his slid into the chair beside him. Titus, the man said, grinning. I hear your son-in-law is not what he seems. Titus frowned. What do you mean? The officer leaned closer. Your crippled chief? He's no cripple. Word is, he's a rich man. A very rich man. Billionaire kind of rich. Titus's eyes widened. Billionaire. The officer nodded. I saw something last night. Can't say much, but trust me. If you play your cards well, you can get more than whatever bride price he gave you. Titus sat back slowly, his mind already turning. More, you say? Back in the old compound, Amaka was standing at the window when she saw Kalu outside, speaking on the phone. She couldn't hear his words, but his face was tense, his hand gripping the phone tightly. When he came back in, she asked, Is something wrong? He paused at the doorway. Yes, but I'll handle it. Something in his tone told her that whatever was coming, it wasn't going to be small. The first thing Amaka heard that morning was her name being shouted from the gate. Amaka! Amaka! It was her mother's voice. She hurried out of her room, down the hallway, and into the compound. Her mother was standing just outside the gate, wringing her hands nervously. Mama? What are you doing here? Amaka asked, opening the gate. Her mother stepped inside quickly. I had to see you before Titus finds out I came. Amaka frowned. Find out? Why? What's going on? Her mother glanced toward the house, her voice dropping. Titus knows. He knows your husband is rich. He's been talking to some man in the village. Says they can get more money from him. A lot more. Amaka's stomach tightened. How? He didn't tell me everything. But I heard him say your husband is hiding money and that he can force him to give it up. Amaka, I'm scared. Before Amaka could reply, a voice came from behind her. What's going on? She turned. Kalu was at the doorway in his wheelchair, though she now knew he didn't need it. His eyes moved from Amaka to her mother. Her mother looked down quickly. I should go. I just wanted to warn you. Kalu's voice was steady. Warn us about what? Amaka hesitated. Titus knows who you are. He's planning something. Kalu's jaw tightened. I expected this. After her mother left, Amaka followed Kalu inside. You're not surprised, she said. He shook his head. Men like Titus are predictable. Once they smell money, they will do anything to get it. Then what are we going to do? He looked at her for a long moment. We leave. Tonight. Amaka blinked. Leave? Just like that? Yes, it's the safest thing to do. She stepped closer, her voice rising. So we keep running? First from your enemies, now from Titus? Is that your whole life? Hiding? It's what has kept me alive, he said firmly. And what about me? She demanded. What about my life? My marriage? You want me to just disappear like a thief in the night? He didn't answer right away. Later that day, while Kalu was in his office, Amaka sat in the kitchen, turning her mother's words over in her head. She didn't trust Titus, but the idea of running again made her feel like her whole life was just a shadow. The aide came in quietly. You should know, your stepfather met with one of Chief's old business rivals yesterday. She looked up sharply. How do you know? I have people who watch things for me, he said simply. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Because Chief doesn't want you worrying. Amaka gave a humorless laugh. Too late for that. By evening, her fears were confirmed. They were eating dinner when the sound of a vehicle outside made them both look toward the gate. Kalu motioned to the aide who went to check. Moments later, he returned, his expression grim. 2 men asking for you, Chief. They say they're from the council, but they're armed. Kalu's voice was calm. Tell them I'm not here. Before the aide could move, a loud bang shook the gate. Voices shouted from outside. Amaka's heart raced. They know you're here. Kalu turned to her. Go to your room. Lock the door. I'm not leaving you. His voice rose for the first time. Go! But it was too late. The gate burst open and 4 men stormed in, guns raised. "Chief Kalu!" one of them shouted. "We just want to talk." Kalu wheeled forward slowly. "This isn't how you talk to someone." The leader smirked. "Your friend Titus says you've been hiding something. We're here to collect." Amaka stepped in front of Kalu. "You're not taking anything from him." The man laughed. "Who's going to stop us?" "You." The aide moved quickly, pulling Amaka aside. "Let us handle this." But the men weren't here to negotiate. One grabbed Kalu's wheelchair and began wheeling him toward the gate. Amaka lunged forward. "Leave him." The leader shoved her hard. She stumbled but caught herself. "Titus sent you, didn't he?" she shouted. The man just grinned. Within minutes, the men were gone, taking nothing but leaving a clear message. They could come and go as they pleased. Kalu sat in the sitting room afterward, his hands clasped tightly. Amaka paced in front of him. "You see? This is exactly why we shouldn't run. If we run, they will find us again. And again. And again." He looked up at her. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm saying we stop hiding. Fight back. Let them know you're not some cripple in a village. Let them see you still have power." He was silent for a long moment. "You don't understand," he said finally. "These men are dangerous. They won't hesitate to kill." "Then we make sure we strike first," she said, her voice firm. His eyes searched hers. "You're asking me to risk everything." "I'm asking you to take back your life," she replied. "And maybe give me mine back too." That night, as the compound settled into silence, Kalu sat alone in his office. Amaka stood in the doorway watching him. Finally, he spoke. "If we do this, there's no turning back." She stepped into the room. "Then don't turn back." For the first time since she had known him, she saw a spark in his eyes. Not fear, not caution, but determination. "You really think Titus will walk straight into this?" Amaka leaned forward across the table. "Yes, you know the kind of man he is, greedy, proud. If you dangle enough money in front of him, he won't be able to resist." Kalu studied her face for a moment. "And you're ready for him to know you're part of this?" "I'm more than ready," she said firmly. "He's been controlling my life since my father died. It's time he sees I'm not his little pawn anymore." The aide, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "We have the men ready. The police will be nearby, waiting for the signal." Kalu nodded slowly. "Good. Then let's make sure this trap is perfect." The next day, Amaka made the call. She sat on the edge of the bed with the phone pressed to her ear, her stomach tight but her voice steady. "Titus, it's me." "Ah, my daughter," he said warmly, though the fake sweetness in his tone made her skin crawl. "I was beginning to wonder if you forgot me now that you're living the good life." "I haven't forgotten," she replied flatly. "In fact, I wanted to tell you something. Kalu, he has money. A lot more than you think." There was a pause on the line. "Go on," Titus said, his tone sharpening. "He keeps it hidden," she continued. "Cash, jewels, papers. But I know where. If you want, I can help you get them." Titus laughed. "And why would you help me?" "Because I'm tired of this marriage," she said, injecting just enough bitterness into her voice. "I want to leave, but I want something for myself before I go." Titus was silent for a moment, then said, "You are truly your father's daughter. Where and when?" "Tomorrow night. The house will be quiet. Just come with your friends and I'll make sure the gate is open." When she hung up, Kalu came into the room. "He took the bait?" She nodded. "He'll be here." The next evening, the compound was dark except for one light in the sitting room. Amaka sat on the couch, pretending to be nervous. In truth, her heart was hammering. The aide was outside, hidden in the shadows, while Kalu sat in his office with the door half open. Two plainclothes police officers waited in a van down the road. At exactly 10 p.m., the sound of an engine broke the silence. Amaka stood and walked to the window. A car pulled up and Titus climbed out with 3 men, the same men who had stormed the compound days earlier. She opened the gate and stepped aside. "Good girl," Titus said as he walked in. The men wasted no time. "Where's the stash?" one of them asked. "In the office," Amaka said. Follow me. They entered the office. Kalu was sitting there, calm, his hands folded on the desk. Titus smirked. Chief Kalu, or should I say, Obina Kalu, we've come to take a small share of what you've been hiding. You mean to steal? Kalu said evenly. Titus's smile widened. Call it whatever you like. We all have to eat. Kalu leaned back in his chair. And you think I'll just hand it over? One of the men stepped forward, pulling out a pistol. You will if you want to live. Before he could take another step, the aide gave the signal. Suddenly, bright lights flooded the room and shouts came from the doorway. Police! Drop your weapons! The men froze as officers swarmed in, guns raised. Within seconds, they were disarmed and forced to the ground. Titus's face went pale. Amaka, what is this? She stepped forward, her voice steady. This is me ending your hold over my life. You set me up? He spat. You set yourself up, she said. I just gave you the rope. You decided to hang yourself with it. The police led Titus and his men out in handcuffs. One officer turned to Kalu. We'll take it from here, sir. They won't trouble you again. When they were gone, Kalu looked at Amaka. You were perfect. She exhaled slowly. I was terrified. He smiled faintly. That's what courage is. Doing it even when you're terrified. A week later, the headlines were everywhere. Obina Kalu returns. Billionaire businessman reclaims public life after assassination attempt. Kalu's face was on television, his name in the papers. The story of his faked disability and disappearance had spread across the country, painting him as a survivor who outsmarted his enemies. That morning, he stood in front of a mirror, adjusting the cuff of his suit. Ready? He asked. Amaka stepped into the room in a flowing Ankara gown, her head held high. More than ready. They walked out together to where the press was waiting. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions. Kalu raised a hand. Ladies and gentlemen, meet my wife, Amaka Kalu. Amaka smiled, a real smile this time, and took his arm. She had walked into this marriage as a girl with no choice. But today she stood there by choice as his equal. And for the first time she felt free.